A look at our current snow cover, a healthy portion of the country as we come out of the holidays covered with snow. That is important because we have a lot of cold air over the northern portion of the country, and cold air this time of year does not modify well over snow cover, and that gives us a better chance of getting temperatures well below freezing well on into the south. Also, when we keep temperatures well below normal this time of year, below normal in January is significant, especially when we talk about 20 and 30 degrees below normal, let alone 10 to 15 degrees below normal. You get from the Ohio Valley on northward, normal daytime highs are not that far from freezing, so you get 10, 15 degrees below freezing. We have got ourselves the setup for some kind of storm system. Strong jet stream digging on into the south. Again, we've got the cold air available to the north. The jet stream is digging down in here. It's going to allow low pressure to form. Moisture is available from the Gulf of Mexico, so we're going to bring warmth and moisture up off the Gulf of Mexico, wrap that in with our developing low, and also pull some of this cold air down from the north. And as the low migrates toward the Carolina coastal areas, that is going to allow some of that cold air not only into some of the southern states, Tennessee, along with northern Alabama and northern Georgia, but it's also going to keep the cold air locked in up here in Virginia. And once we add the Atlantic moisture for Maryland, Delaware, and Virginia, we should get some significant snows. This should be one of the bigger ones of the season. Hopefully there's not too many more of these down the road for you. So let's see how this affects our 5-day planner here over the next couple of days. Obviously the big action here is in the first half of the forecast, and hopefully we can quiet down for you some out toward the middle of the upcoming week. Here's your developing storm by midday Saturday. Low pressure should be developing somewhere in the vicinity of the lower Mississippi Valley, New Orleans say, with a trough of low pressure extending northward into our area of high pressure. Snow a good bet on the northern end of this, and then we'll have to mess with rain-snow line with some sleet and freezing rain, a likely mix, especially as we get east of the Appalachians. So still some fluctuation with the specifics of the forecast, so stay updated in your local area. But for the central and southern mountains of the Appalachian, this is going to be a big snow, just about guaranteed. Very chilly temperatures overnight, below zero in New England as well as the northern plains, and daytime highs tomorrow will not venture out of the 30s, even well into the deep south. So that's part of the reason we're excited. Sunday, we take the 30s very close to the Gulf Coast and 30s all the way to the Atlantic coast, and where we've got 20s painted in here in the western Carolinas, it could be a good deep accumulating snow. Now temperatures begin to moderate once our storm pulls away, but notice 30s still well into Georgia on Monday, then some moderation back to 40s and 50s in Georgia, some 40s back into the Carolinas, and it gets even better as we look ahead to Wednesday. So let's take a look at that weather map once again. Some snowfall could get fairly far north here on Sunday, especially Sunday night, before it pulls out on Monday, and then by Tuesday the east will quiet down a great deal, and we'll wait for some more energy to come in off the Pacific. And as we look out toward later Tuesday and Wednesday, that could mean some developing weather over the western Great Lakes. But this one, a much weaker system than what we're dealing with for the weekend. All right, more details on the upcoming weekend snow right here on the Weather Channel. Stay tuned.
The idea of the thunderstorms, which always is an indicator that something is going on down south in the Gulf of Mexico. You see these bright colors here, these reds and oranges, indicating those higher or colder cloud tops. And the other aspect of the storm in the warmer air in Florida is going to be showers, thunderstorms, and the possibility of some severe weather certainly overnight tonight and tomorrow morning. As far as the low itself right now, it's centered right across the Florida Panhandle. You can see the warm front, and that's where the warm air is trying to move north, but what is happening is that warm air is getting forced up and over the colder air because the colder air is denser, and this is what we call overrunning precipitation, and it's breaking out. We've had snow, I mentioned 6, 8, 10 inches now in some of the mountainous areas of North Carolina and southwestern Virginia. The snow now just advancing into Washington and Baltimore, and eventually later tonight Philadelphia, and there's your cold high, and the cold air has been draining down. So if it's going to change over, it's going to be much later in the event. Ocean City, Salisbury, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, you probably will get at least some rain and sleet at a time tomorrow, but then the cold air will come back in. And most of the event, even in the Tidewater, where we're already hearing about numerous traffic accidents because the roads are snow covered, it's going to get worse. Stay off the highways, especially, and some of those areas are not really equipped for heavy snow. There's our southeastern radar, and you can see the big storms now roaming through the Florida Panhandle into Appalachia Bay. Watch out around Tampa and Jacksonville as this cold front comes whipping on through, and you'll be much, much cooler tomorrow night and Monday. Now you can see the northern edge of that snowfall moving up towards the Mason-Dixon line. Some of this is aloft and not reaching the ground, like around Washington, Baltimore, up through Baltimore and Howard County, over on the eastern shore around Salisbury and Ocean City. You'll see those first flakes flying in a few moments, if not a few moments, another half an hour or so. And then it's just going to start adding up. And look at this snowfall forecast. This is unbelievable. We're forecasting locally as much as 2 feet or more in the mountains of West Virginia, southwestern Virginia, because you'll have that added upslope component, the wind coming in, rising up in elevation, and we squeeze out additional moisture. But around Washington and Baltimore, heavy snow. Now remember, this is through dinner time Sunday. Once the storm gets developed off Hatteras, it's going to move off the coast in New York City and across southeastern Connecticut. You too will share in the heavy snow, the winds, which will create blizzard or blizzard-like conditions tomorrow night and Monday. So a lot going on. You stay with the Weather Channel. We'll have continuing live coverage from Washington, and tomorrow from Washington and New York. Now for the rest of the weather and your forecast, here's Gene Rubin.
Thank you very much, Mike. There is weather in other parts of the country, too. Of course, the big blizzard in the southeast, or potential blizzard, moving to the mid-Atlantic states. We have a cold Arctic high pressure sitting over northern Minnesota and a warm front moving through the northwest, creating some problems there. Let's zoom into the upper Midwest right now. Very windy, very cold. Temperatures themselves like mix over the northern part of the country, and another system moves into the Pacific Northwest. On Tuesday, light snow showers over the Great Lakes, maybe some freezing drizzle into the Ohio Valley, and rains and snows continue in Montana, Idaho, walking up at about 20,000 feet. At the surface, we have an intensifying low pressure area along the northern Gulf. It's going to tap abundant Atlantic moisture. We have bitterly cold air to the north. Everything's in place up in the northeast. We had record lows this morning, like 25 below in Syracuse, New York. As the low intensifies, it's going to be sitting over some warm waters here. Water temperatures, the Gulf Stream, about 75 degrees. So it really will intensify rapidly, bringing in lots of moisture off the Atlantic into the cold air. And that's going to cause these blizzard-like conditions, heavy snows, mid-Atlantic states. We're going to have accumulating snows from Jackson, Mississippi, Birmingham, Atlanta, even though it will be quite light. Icy, windy conditions from Houston all the way into North Florida. Quite a system. Sunday morning's weather map. We'll put the maps into motion. You can see the band of bright white, the heavy snow not moving too far, too fast. Cold air from the north. We have a little bit of warm air left for tomorrow. I guess Miami, Fort Lauderdale, you'll be the only warm spot in the country. And as we go through time now, very cold over much of the country for Sunday. We start to see 80s in the southwest, and we see a moderation in the temperatures by Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.